Hurricane Ian. We got the full green screen up to show you this because this is going to be a very dangerous situation. We want you to know ahead of time how to deal with this. We're going to go in depth. It's going to be long, but it's going to be important, which is why you need to stay safe and pay attention. If you're not already, pay attention by going and subscribing to the Merryman Academy Network YouTube channels. That way you can stay up to date. Make sure you go to our website. We're going to be tracking this out for you through the entire storm. Let's get to the very latest, though, on what needs to be broken down right now on this storm. Right now, tropical storm force winds getting to Tampa, Fort Myers already, Key West gusting 39 miles an hour. We got tornado watch closer towards from Orlando down to Miami. That's where we're dealing with a tornado watch. Look at the visible satellite, the infrared, which basically tells how high the clouds are. The darker the colors, the higher the clouds are. Right in that eye wall from Fort Myers down toward Florida, that's where we have the strongest winds, and that's when we could see landfall potentially getting close to the Florida area. Let's talk about the wind field. You're not going to be getting the hurricane force winds, but the thing is, you can be outside the cone and still get lots of winds because this is a very wide system. Hurricane force winds extend out, but look at the tropical storm force winds. Stretching all the way from north of Sarasota down toward the Keys, still dealing with tropical storm force winds. Right now, let's take a look at the tropical storm warnings in effect from Miami on up the coastline. That's where, including Jacksonville, Wayne County, Glynn County, now fully under a tropical storm warning as of the 11 a.m. advisory. Charleston, now under a tropical storm warning. Hurricane warnings have been extended from Fort Myers and Tampa over toward Daytona Beach because we could see hurricane force winds affecting areas. Now, I just named a bunch of locations. What does it mean? Well, take for example, you're under a watch. That means you could expect conditions within 48 hours. If I mentioned that you were a warning, you could see it in less than 36 hours. Let's take a look at the cone though. Stretching all the way from where we're going to see it make landfall, curving on up toward the Georgias and Carolinas. Likely going to go offshore, missing Brunswick, St. Simons. This is a best case scenario, which means we're not going to get surge likely that we would normally see. Now, we could get a little backside of the surge and see about 1 to 3 feet. But the winds are going to stay mostly offshore, so be thankful for that. Rain, most likely going to stay most of the heavy rain offshore as of right now, which is very good for Georgia and parts of northeast Florida. We're going to likely see it exit the Florida coastline by Daytona Beach, which means that Jacksonville could miss most of the worst of this. Now, let's talk about the models. That's one thing we've been talking about. If you've been following us over the past few days, we've been saying how the models are not in good agreement. They still have not been up until landfall today. We're still uncertain, but most likely it's going to stay off the coast of Georgia, make landfall somewhere between Savannah, Tybee Island, and Charleston. I mentioned storm surge earlier. Let's talk about that for South Carolina to Georgia. 3 to 5 feet of storm surge. Most likely it's going to be the islands that get the most of it, but because Brunswick, Savannah, Jacksonville all have these big shipping ports, which means there's lots of little rivers and creeks that could quickly see water rise. So if you're close to the coast, maybe think about moving a story up just to stay safe. Worst of the wires, though, is going to be between Fort Myers or Tampa down to Fort Myers. That's where you could see 12 to 18 feet of storm surge. Rainfall is going to be a big thing. Locally, we could see up to a foot. Some places, though, could see 20 inches of rain in central Florida. More coverage on Hurricane Ian as we continue throughout the day. Live coverage all day on the Merryman Academy Network.